Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you. Today is Monday. I got my day right. It is your dual dab of the day. Good morning, everybody. Well, I try to build topics out of my life. I try to share with you things that go on in my life and make a point to tell you guys if it's not a good thing, you don't want to do it, and if it's a good thing, you want to try it. Today's topic is built out of that. Eating out with pain. That's right. How do we eat dinner at a restaurant living in the pain we live in? Now, brings the second part. How do we go to a restaurant and deal with a restaurant when we're medicated? Let's roll time back 45 years to when I was 17. Had my license, just had my license, would drive around with my CB radio and stop at all the different local burger joints and ice cream places with my friends and meet people on the CB radio. And everything was happy and go lucky. Moving forward into college, same thing. Moving forward into adulthood, young children, older children, etc. Worldwide eating around the world. I thank God I've been lucky enough to eat in Michelin-starred restaurants all around the world and in the United States. Some of the finest out there. Not the point. If I was offered the finest restaurant out there right now, I don't know if I could go. Twice over the last 3 years for my anniversary, which is June 27th, me and Mrs. Stoner had to cancel the finest French restaurant in New Jersey. Had to cancel it. I was doubled up in pain both times I couldn't go. Now, that's a tertiary issue, is what if we can't go? This is about how do you go? All right, once you're in the car going, you're there. What do you do? I've talked about the traveling. I've talked about that type of stuff before. You're in a restaurant. Well, let's talk about what happens, I think. Just throwing it out there. You get really antsy really quick. I'll say it again, a different way. You get really anxious really quick. I'll say it a third way. You get annoyed really quick. So, if the spoon's not clean, if the fork's not straight, if you don't have an extra napkin, if the side dish isn't there, if your appetizer's not on the way, if they're not getting to you as fast as you want, if you can see somebody's food coming out before you, if you see a person, you're talking to a person at your table, you see another person at another table, you can't take your eyes off of them. In other words, what I'm trying to say is you can get sensory overload at a frickin' restaurant. People like us. Isn't that insane? I had to ask Mrs. Stoner last night to move so I couldn't see the person behind her. Because every time I talked to her, it was like I was talking to another person. Their head was here just a little bit smaller, and I'm talking to Mrs. Stoner and another person looking right at me. I'm like, how am I going to deal with that? So I kept asking her to move over. The food was wonderful and tasty and all that, but it was only one waitress. Sunday night, we wanted to go out, it was local. No hard time on the waitress, of course, but everything was driving me crazy. When's this going to come? When's that going to come? We're going to be back. I'm catastrophizing dinner. How many of you have been there? Ding, 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 ding. The gold ring. That's something I bet we all do, and we just don't talk about it. We're beasts when it comes to restaurants, aren't we? We're brutal when it starts hurting a lot, aren't we? Think about this. I'm dealing with high-level facial pain, post-root canal, with some type of awful thing going on here. I'm dealing with what we already know in my back and neck. I'm dealing with my abdomen with my IBS and my pancreatitis. How happy can you be even at a good restaurant? You are there for the other person. Come on, you are. I can't hardly even chew. How am I going to say what I want for dinner with passion? Not about that. It's about the company. For me, it's about getting out of the house for once during the week. It's even about getting into a restaurant where Mrs. Stoner doesn't have to work in the kitchen and clean because she doesn't want me doing it. This is all about, just like other things I've talked about, dealing with things we're dealt, and kind of conforming our lives, kind of curving ourselves, shaping ourselves to be able to do these situations. Now, let's face it. If I was doubled over in pain last night, I couldn't have gone, even local. I've refused going local before, many times. But wouldn't it be nice if I could get to a nice restaurant? But here's the challenge. The triggers, I don't know what the triggers are for my IBS. It's not a normal IBS where the normal triggers. And the strangest thing set it off. We could be on the way to the restaurant and it could happen. And it's very, very scary sometimes. And I think it's brought on by anxiety, not just food. Many people would probably agree with me on that. And that leads me to another part of that discussion about restaurants, about going out to eat the way we are. It's holiday time. You might have to go out to eat with 20 people. You know, I used to do that a lot, and I was the guy paying. You know, I was on business, and I took a lot of people out at a lot at once because that was part of what I did. And everybody had a great time. I made sure they did. But I am here to tell you that I couldn't be one of the guests right now. I couldn't do it. Now, does that make us bad people? No, of course not. Does it make us so we can't enjoy some of the things others enjoy? Definitely. Does it mean that we can't do some of the things we used to do? Absolutely. But there's still life, there's still love, and there's still new things out there. So what I encourage everybody to do that deals with this situation like I do, keep going, keep trying, don't stop. Don't think just because you had a hard time doing it Saturday and couldn't go that you won't be able to go 2 weeks from now. Don't think because you really were in pain and really had a hard time and weren't good company, were grouchy at the dinner table, that it's going to be that way every time. It's not. We live in a world of pain. Pain tends to be like this. There are ups and there are downs. Okay? It's a bell curve. It's not a flat line. And it's not just like that, and it's not just like that. Different things happen on different moments of different days. I'm here to tell you, and it's the strangest thing. A lot of it has to do, I think, with the body's nervous system. When you're asleep and start waking up right away, before you're all the way on the floor with your feet, you might not feel pain. You get up to go to the bathroom to pee at night. You might not feel it. And then when all the consciousness comes and all your nervous system is awake and firing, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel more of it. And if you're like me, like many of you are, you're going to feel it incorrectly. What I'm learning is that my pain perceptions are not correct. I don't think there's a way to retrain, unfortunately, at this point. I know there's neurosciences and things like that, but I just don't know if there's a way to retrain my brain. I think for me, it's going to be adaptation, okay? Adaptation, trying to find things to help me adapt. For going out to restaurants and eating dinner out, that's the key word, I think, too. Adapt. We've got to find ways to adapt. You know, one thing I do tell you is most restaurants have hard chairs. I bring a coccyx cushion called the tush cush with me wherever I go. I'm not ashamed to walk in with my cane. I'm not ashamed to walk in with Mrs. Stoner's arm supporting me. Not at all. And I'm going to tell you something else. This is really important for all of you who do go out to eat and have these issues and tough it out. Stop toughing it out. If you don't feel well and you have pain and you're at a dinner table, I don't care if it's with a boss. Excuse me, I'm in terrible pain right now. I have to leave. I've been the guy with the credit card taking out the customers. Guess what the customers do when you're the vendor and they have that happen? They're out of here. So guess what we need to start doing when this happens? We're out of here. Okay? Very important that we look at ourselves first in these situations because others can't see what's happening inside of our bodies and minds. We've got to protect ourselves, make sure we don't hurt anybody in the process. But we've got to protect ourselves. So if you run into those situations and it's too much for you, you get up and you leave. This is the Real Senior Stoner. Let's get dabbing. Let's do some of our new THC crystals. Throw some of those. We're going to do one set in a Carta today and one set in a peak today. Get 2 hits rolling at the same time. Then I'll let everybody go off and have a great Monday. Let's start with the peak. Put it up at green temperature. Those of you who know me know that's my temperature. Maybe I should get this puppy firing at the same time so I can do two-fisted dabbing. That'd be pretty cool. Here we go. Getting ready here. It's dueling dabs to see which one's hot first. Puff goes ready first. Here we go. Cheers. Delicious. As always. Card is up. In case you can't tell, I needed that. This is the Real Senior Stoner, hoping that you all find ways to get yourselves to restaurants this year, find ways next year to get yourselves to restaurants and stay there and enjoy your time with your family or your friends. There are ways to do it. Good luck, everybody. Have a great Monday.